Share Together Australia. Councillors, we have two apologies for today. The Mayor Paul Simmons and Councillor Lisa. We'll move on to the first of our agenda items. Number 2, the adoption of the 26-27 annual. Councillors, before we do, are there any questions regarding agenda item 2? Councillor Mayor.
Thank you, Acting Mayor, and through you, a general question to start with. I've got a couple of queries with formatting. Is that actually still able to be done? Or I know this is a draft document, but would those changes be made in time for this to go out, or have we left it a bit late for that?
To the Chair, if there's a minor formatting that doesn't change any material aspects of the document, we can accommodate that.
Well, if I tell you what they are, you can guide me along the way with that, I suppose. Okay, shall I go for it? All right. And bear with me, please, elected members. It's just a couple of little things. So on page 9, when all of the elected members are mentioned, I'm just querying why Councillor Roundtree isn't put as Mayor, because she has done that and will continue to do that in the next financial year. She's just put down as a councillor. So it's page 9 of the actual document, I think. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just make notes as we go, Councillor Mayor. What's the?
Beg your pardon?
I'll make some notes as we go. What's the next one?
The next one. Some of the pictures that are in there aren't as bright. I think we should brighten them up if we can to make it all uniform, because some are and some aren't, and some of the photos of the area are a bit hard to see. That's, as I said, they were minor formatting things. On page 22, which, let me just get it up. So it's page 17 on the document.
What page, sorry?
Page 17 on the actual document itself and 22 on the computer side. Under political landscape. Now, I looked this up for last time, and last year's was a little more general and included both federal and state. And it said that the elections would take place during the year, which they now have, and that then flowed on to be pretty much what has written here. I just wonder whether we should put in that now that both federal and state elections have passed, stability and grant funding is a possibility. It's along the same lines, but it's not just specifically just one government.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, it just makes it more consistent with what we've already put out in the past. All right.
Any elected members have an issue with that one?
Please feel free to speak up if I'm being over the top with this, but you know me by now. And the last one, I think on page 33 of the document, which is a fair way. There's no legend for the symbols on there. I think it might be helpful if we do that, because on all our reports we actually have symbols of what's in progress, what's completed, and on here we've only got the arrow and the ticks. So I think a little legend just to explain that one means completed and one means in process or in progress, because it's not on there.
Page 33.
Yep.
Good pick up on that one.
And just to finish, and I'll open it up so everyone else can have their say, I think it's a really good document other than those few little things. It explains things really well. It's a good format, And no, I'm happy to support it. It was just those little changes I picked up.
Might respond to the first one.
Sure.
So this is for the next 12 months.
Yep.
And we'll tell council shortly what we expect in terms of acting and deputy mayors. I would say in the annual report, which looks back on the last 12 months, that's where you talk about elected members and their positions that they held during those 12 months. So that probably is the document where I think you rightfully acknowledge that, additional responsibilities.
Yep.
And again, in 2027, when the annual report comes out, it'll talk about the current financial year.
Okay.
Anything further, councillor Moment?
Not that I can think. Oh, well, one of the things in the political landscape on the current document was you mentioned election commitments. Well, most of them were for Murray Bridge. They weren't for us anyway. And state government doesn't really give councils much money. So I wonder, I mean, if you reword it and look at that, that's just something to consider. So I hope you don't think it's nitpicking, but we know that they don't really give us a lot of money.
Be rewritten.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Thank you, councillor Moment. Councillors, councillor Arthur?
If we pass this motion now, does that mean the budget's passed?
No, the budget is.
Because the budget is the next item, but it's in this too.
The ABP effectively lists the projects we're doing. So it talks about, the commitments that council makes. The budget and everything else following that is how it's funded. So the changes that councillor Maidment suggested, most of them are fairly minor. They don't affect anything material in the ABP.
But I've got quite a few questions about the budget. So would you rather me leave them until the next item on the agenda, which is the annual budget?
I would suggest so.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay,
You're
that's
comfortable
all
with
right.
that?
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Coleman?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Two things, and they're all good. First of all, through the chair to our intimate Chief Executive Officer. I like how you wrote in your report there, Miles. You've got here, it is up now to the elected members and staff to focus on prudent spending and achieving asset management efficiencies. Well done. I think what we want. I want to praise you on that. And the other one was, Mr Mayor, through the chair to our Director of Roads and Infrastructure, Westbrook Road, Harlem Bend, it's on page 41 of the document. 2 kilometres of resheeting, 120,000. Whereabouts actually, is that from Gannets Road to the highway, please?
Page 41, was that, councillor Coleman?
Yeah.
Through the chair, take that on notice if I may. I'm not 100% familiar where the exact 2 kilometres is. I have a feeling it's to the east of Granite's Road towards Coldie Road.
Oh, okay.
There's some sections up in there that are not in good condition. But I will take it on notice and give you the exact
Yeah, thank you.
location.
Through the chair again, yeah, just a complaint raised about a resident who lives on Gardner Road, so I'm not quite sure where she was referring when I put the CRM in, either the western or eastern. But thank you if you could get back to me, I'd appreciate it.
And councillor Coleman, councillor Bland?
So
No, Westbrook just ticked in my head,
Yeah,
that's all.
I was going to say, and it goes for any road in our district, if we're planning to do work and we're aware there may be a major project development occurring, we will do our best to ensure that the timing is appropriate and logical. And we are aware that Westbrook Road is a potential site for a data centre.
Thank you. Councillors, any further questions on the annual business plan? Okay. I'll just note that I intend to change, just similar to councillor Mame, at the third paragraph in my report. Just needs a little bit of change in it, but I'll do that to
Mhm.
reflect the draft for now. There is a recommendation that we adopt the annual business plan. Councillor Coleman so moved.
Move, thank you.
For a second to Councillor Bland. Councillor Coleman, you have the call.
I've already said enough, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bland.
No, I'm happy with it, with the discussion, that's minor adjustments that have been mentioned.
Thank you. Any other councillors wish to enter debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 3, the adoption of the 26-27 budget. Are there any questions for administration at this point in time? Councillor Arthur.
Yes, I've got a couple. Regarding the budget renewal for sealed roads and unsealed roads, when we read all the hullabaloo of the annual report, it's about we use the long-term financial plan, the road asset management plan, the plan, only when it suits us, it seems. Because the road asset management plan and the interim one, which we've got at the present moment, which was in April last year, the sealed road expenditure this year should be 2.4 million. It's 1.965. Now that has worked on the report that was presented to council, that it's 89.5 million capex, and we have to spend 2.4 million minimum every year over 10 years, and we'll still have a $4 million backlog. This is council's own report. So I'm just wondering, why aren't we following our plan? And the thing to me that worrying, I'll get on unsealed roads in a minute. So since that plan has been made and since those figures have been made, we've been told that the cost of an unsealed road has increased by about 10%, and the cost of a sealed road is 20% plus. So if we're spending that amount of money, we are getting further and further and further behind the 8 ball in our road maintenance program. I'll just finish with the unsealed and then Joel or whatever, but the Joel, the unsealed renewal this year is 2.985 million on a capex of 61.6 million. It says we're supposed to spend 3.3 million over 10 years. We'll still have a backlog of 6.12 million. First question, those figures are not relating to what the plan says. And the second question is, shouldn't they, if we're going on that plan, there should have been an increase in that, because if we're going for the 10 years for 3.3 million for 10 years, you know, like 3.3 million in 10 years time might get you a 20-foot driveway. But at the present point in time, it is really a point, because it means if that's all the money we're going to spend, we're not going to be doing much work.
Thank you. I just say, Councillor Arthur, I really hope we don't end up in the situation of Zimbabwean inflation, because that sounds like that 20-foot driveway for that much. We might be. To the interim CEO first and then to the director.
All right, so I'll start off with an answer that talks about classical macro level constraints and opportunities. So as SCOSA found us to be mostly sustainable because LTFP had a trajectory of heading towards consistent surpluses, heading upwards in terms of its asset renewal ratio, and heading down in terms of its rate increases. So we kind of talk about, you know, that being the holy trinity of local government financial sustainability. They're the things that they work against each other. So you have to find the balance, and we found the balance because, and you raised the point, councillor Arthur, you talked about during the draft budget proposal, you asked the question, what would a rate increase be to produce a surplus or a balanced budget, and it was 11%.
11.3.
There you go, 11.3. Thank you for the correction. So that's not tolerable. Very clearly, you know, we have other councils in a similar situation that are well above that to be able to, you know, deal with their asset renewals, and it's particularly those councils that have large road networks. So what we do consistently is to find that balance. Now, in terms of the documents, and this is what SCOSA has been expressing. This is what SCOSA will come back and look at in 3 years' time when they come back to this council. They'll be looking to see whether we have followed our LTFP, have continued to increase our asset renewal ratio, and have continued to reduce our rate increases year on year. And they want to, and the emphasis on the last review by SCOSA was to see that asset management plans, annual business plans, and long-term financial plans were all advising each other and iterative. So we start the beginning of the year by reviewing our LTFP, because the LTFP drives our budget. There are things that occur that you don't plan for in a 12-month period, like a war that increases the oil prices. So they're things that an asset management plan that was written, you know, 2 years ago wouldn't have written in this increase of diesel prices, bitumen prices of 25% on the risk there might be a war in the Middle East. But there has been, and it has happened. And so when we have the opportunity to look at our pricing, and we're still in an inflationary environment, there's still risks of, you know, those prices sustained for the rest of at least the calendar year, and they have to be written in. And also, again, you know, we've had other things that have been competing against us in terms of our overall budget, such as having to include the Meningie Library costs as well. So all of those things play in to what we're presenting in front of you today as a budget. As far as the technical questions are concerned, you've raised, I probably would refer to the Director of Roads and Infrastructure to go for a bit deeper dive into those questions.
The Director has the call.
Can I just make comment on that? What's the biggest asset the council's got?
Asset,
People.
you're talking about a single asset?
Roads. Roads are our biggest asset.
Yeah.
Because without no one gets anywhere. It's all right a couple of years ago to drop the budget by 25% for 2 years to fund other things on the road, and that's why they've deteriorated. But to get them back to a standard and to have a plan, but you're still not prepared to accommodate that. There are other things, and also in your SCOSA report, it was very, one thing outstanding was that we have to look at our capital and new works. We cannot be sustainable if we're adding more capital, which is more expansion. And that was quite emphatic in the report.
The Director has the call.
But this other,
No, Councillor Arthur.
oh,
Director's
sorry.
got the call. Once he's responded, then feel free.
Thank you, and through the chair. So probably 3 dot points here that I will talk to. So first point is, you make some very good points why we are working so hard to get an annual rhythm around indexation and regular revaluations. So that way, we every so often are condition assessing our network, and that will inform us as to how we should be spending our money. And we will have some decisions to make there. side on how good we want our network to be, because there is a cantilever to the cost that is associated with having your network in either this condition or this condition. Goes up and down. Second point I'll talk to is, I guess, the specific numbers that you cited around sealed and unsealed roads. So what I think the numbers that you cited are the average over a 10-year period. So I'm just looking at the long-term financial plan as it currently stands. And in year 10 for sealed roads, we've got $2.9 million forecast for sealed renewals. And in unsealed roads, we've got 4.4. Now, they are both way above the numbers that you cited. So that does show that we, without doing anything, have a trajectory acknowledging that things will get more expensive over the course of time. To point 3, this financial year now, 26-27, we'll be undertaking a full condition assessment and revaluation process of our sealed and unsealed network. And that will tell us ultimately what we need to be spending on our roads.
Yeah, I've got a few others.
And sorry, but before I do hand back to you, just to clarify too, that the year-to-year indexation on sealed and unsealed roads is 9.5% from last year to this current budget.
It was a bit of an anomaly though, wasn't it?
It's not best, but the increase year-to-year is 9.5% as it is in the current budget.
Yes.
Councillor Arthur?
Just the CWS works we're doing, SCADA upgrade at Meningie and renewal program, 199,000 and 150,000 in total for them, which is 350 versus so they actually dollar into the 199, make it 200. Why don't we take that out of the reserves? Now, the reserves are there, as per legislation, to use for capital works. SCADA in particular is capital works. There's $1.291 million in the reserve. So why can't we use that?
Interim CEO has called.
I think we've had this conversation quite a few times about reserves, and Bill, do you mind just saying it again?
Thank you. Yeah. The reserves are a book value. It's not a physical cash value. So if that's where your question is, why don't we use the reserves as in terms of cash to offset the budget? I'm assuming that's where your question is. The reserve is a book value. So over time,
It's still a book value of money that has been paid by the CWS over and above the running expenses.
so the reserve, every year, you take a stock of the reserve costs and expenditure. And if you've raised more than what the costs were, then it goes to reserve. There's been a year where we spent more and the reserve comes back out. So
If I'm wrong, Bill, within legislation, the CWS scheme could be charging the council money because we've got the use of that money on a percentage basis.
I'm not aware of that.
Oh, well, it's in the Act.
It may be, I'm not aware of it.
We can. So I'm just, why do we keep that? I know we'll have to increase our borrowings because that money's been used elsewhere. It hasn't been, thrown away in the cupboard down the back somewhere or put on fixed deposit.
Yeah.
It's part of the workings of the
The
capital.
SCADA cost has been built into the CWMS charge for the year. And if it's my understanding is correct, if we were to expend in excess, it would come off the actual amount in reserve.
Correct. So anything in excess can come from the reserve. There's nothing to stop it. This is a budget. So there are two separate items here. So this is a budget allocated to indicate what the expenditure will be. And the reserve is an accumulation over time of if there's overs and unders, it just tracks what, if there's a surplus to what we've charged, then it just tracks it. And they're part of the requirements, which we've done. So if there is any excess, the reserve can be used. There's nothing to stop it. The reserve can be used to pay for the swims.
Councillor Arthur?
Yeah, just another one here. The borrowings for, at the present moment, are $7.367 million. We're running a deficit budget again, which is 670. Yeah, the borrowings at the end of this financial year expect to be 6.568 million. How can we have a reduction of 670,000? I would have thought that may have been an increase of 670,000, seeing we run
Bill, if you
a
could.
deficit.
Yep,
Thank you,
thank
Bill
you.
has the floor.
Through you, Chair. So the budget's reprofiled each year. So it's a forecast of where we think council will end up the end of financial year. So at the beginning of the year, so in 26, 27, we reprofiled our budget for borrowings. So, and it profiles out to the figure you've just mentioned. The reason it equates to this is because our position as at the end of financial year, so just the year that we just finished at the 30th of June, I've got some figures here. So the value of the CADs, the cash at demand deposits, the value that we had drawn down was 3.968 million. The value of the debenture loans, the outstanding loans that we owe, is 914,000. So the total of all our borrowings as at the 30th of June was just over 4.88 million. So that's an example of where if we don't take into account our current position when establishing a budget, would probably be overshooting. So each year you've got to reprofile and you've got to review these sort of figures. So essentially our borrowings are less than what we had forecasted last year this time. So we're up 4.88. We've got about $850,000 loan projected for this financial year coming in. So it's essentially your starting position has changed, and that's due to various variables such as the financial assistance grant, which gets often paid in advance at different percentage rates.
Oh, that always been the 30th of June, isn't it?
Not always the case. There was a year, I think 2 financial years ago, where they didn't pay it
About 4 years ago.
yeah, I think it was 2 to 3 years
Yeah.
ago where they didn't pay it. So, but generally they do. But the thing is, when they do pay that in advance, sometimes only pay 50% in advance. Another year they paid 75% in advance, and I think this year might have been 80 off the top of my head. So that figure all changes. But the reason I'm mentioning this is when there's variables involved, such as the financial assistance grant, your cash figure then changes as well. The cash figure changes, and your borrowings, we offset really quickly our cash and advance deposits. So we got excess cash in our general banking account. We offset it against these loans. Those loans have, at the time of formalising the budget, if they were slightly lower than what we had forecasted before, borrowings naturally decrease in the forecast as well.
I just also make the point that while the deficit is there, part of that deficit is repaying capital on existing borrowings. And that has also seen a decrease as a result of.
Correct. There's through your chair, so there's an ongoing, like a flow-on effect with your principal repayments, as the acting mayor just mentioned. So your principal repayments, as a result, which is positive, reduce, and your interest expenses also reduce as a result. So essentially, by being in that position, you're paying off your loans, reducing your principal quicker, and as an effect, paying less interest expense.
Well, just going on what you said there, we would have received the grant, some grant money on the 30th of June. How much was that? Normally a couple of $1 million, isn't it?
Yeah, through your chair, the figure was approximately $2.49 million.
Right.
Thank you. So just while we're on the topic of borrowings, are there any other questions for Bill around borrowings from councillors? Councillor Qual?
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad we've got the opportunity to ask on this big, through the chair to Bill. So it's 4.88 borrowing. So there's a ratio or limit that SCOSA approves of. So we're well within the limit. And what is the limit that gets the red flag gets raised up? Percentage out of our income, you know what I mean?
Yeah, through your chair. So yeah, we're currently within the limits. Our policy states that we have a 20% ratio, and we're currently within the limits. And if we start to creep towards the limits, these borrowings are reviewed, and any future borrowings are also factored into how we should approach whether we should be variable or fixed. So that goes essentially indicating if we got component of loans that are fixed or a component of loans that are variable, we have to have a 20% minimum essentially. The policy details, the council policy details, the actual percentage split, I guess.
And sorry, and
Through-
through the chair, Bill, do you want to mention the significant loans that are maturing in the next couple of years?
Yeah, through you, Chair. So we have 3 fixed loans. So they're called shell loans on our statements. The 3 loans that we have for the Tail and Bend office building, the Meningie stormwater upgrade, which occurred, and the Coldy Road fixed debenture loan. So we have 3 loans in the next 2 years. 2 of those loans, one being the Meningie stormwater upgrade, and the second one, I believe, is the Coldy Road upgrade. Those 2 loans will be paid off. Current balance of those loans is approximately 914,000. They were in excess of 2 million.
So one comment on that, I mean, that's a really good thing.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, and it's reflected in that LTFP. So in terms of this council's borrowing capacity, improving. The thing I'll say though, that you need to watch out for is that if you, in the new chamber after April elections, is to be very careful of not creating new assets. So it might be, okay, all of a sudden we can borrow a couple $1 million, but your depreciation challenge remains. And SCOSA will still be saying, be very cautious about creating new assets that increase your depreciation challenge. So it might be that, and we know that we've got a couple of big projects, including the Rung Jetty, that we need to be, cautious about. So that's something in conversations with the new chamber and explaining the LTFP and ensuring that there's still that level of discipline, that it'll be really important to have those conversations.
Any other questions on debt from council's council plan?
Just since our acting CEO has brought up the Narung Jetty, I noticed that it's 250,000 listed in the budget. Is that the current figure? Because originally it was a lot higher, I thought.
So, look, that's provision. We're obviously got a situation where council have said, don't do work on it, try to seek a grant. I think that's particular motion is reviewed at the end of the year. Now, in my mind, it's $1 million project. So we've spoken, when we've spoken to the state government, we've talked about at least $500,000 from the state government, or we're going to go with bets for. It most likely would be something that would straddle 2 FYs, 2 financial years. So hence, that's also why I would see the 250 as a fair figure.
Okay.
It gives us the opportunity. Worst case scenario, we do get the opportunity for a grant. We've got to move really quickly. Is that we'd put in a budget variation throughout the year. We'll push really hard for more money. So, 70% would be a lovely number in terms of money from the Commonwealth Government. But just having that 250 in there enables us to have those conversations.
Is it worth putting on there then a note that indicates that this is subject to grant funding, or a note that's in there? Because it may be read as this is what we're spending, it's all it's going to cost. We know that that's not right, but not necessarily everybody will.
We can do that.
I'm just wondering with some of those things, we have a note when it's just a seed funding for a grant.
Yes,
specifically
we can do that.
At that point.
Councillors, any other questions on debt?
I'm finished there.
I know you haven't. Let's dealing with that one first.
I just,
Councillor Arthur?
sorry, yeah, the materials and contract and other expenses I see has actually dropped the expenditure on them. Now, that would have been one area that I would have thought would have had to have an increase in the budget. Because, you know, for a start with, when we get all that, you know, the figure of $8.1 million, we don't get any information on how it's made up. And one of the things that's made up would be the toilets. Now, at the present moment, that when I asked for a printout before, with a few things were missing on them, but it was nearly $250,000 we spend on public toilets. We've got 2 more that are going to go on the system, which are going to cost us quite a few dollars, the Salt Creek and Canalpin. So, you know, what are we dropping off here out of our budget to, even if we maintained it at the same expenditure, what are we dropping off? Because there's something that we aren't doing that maybe we should be doing, or we have been doing and we're not going to do.
Thank you. So the questions relating to materials, contracts and other expenditures.
Yes.
Page 1 of 13.
8.152 million, we're dropping it to 8.122 million now. That
Bill?
doesn't sound like much, but in today's setup it is.
Thank you, Bill. You have a call?
Thank you, through you, Chair. So the reason materials and contracts and other expenses appear to be slightly lower compared to last year, the reason is that last financial year, we have 508,000 built into the materials and contracts line for RPP expenditure. That drops off in the current financial year, the draft budget. So essentially, last year was, I guess, temporarily inflated due to this, the RPP funding. So that was factored into materials and contracts. So essentially, you could subtract from last year's figure 508,000 as a once-off, because that's like a once-off expenditure contribution. That would be what you'd probably are best to compare to then.
So that's what you're saying
7.65 billion, just say.
is retrospective by the drop in the grants, subsidies and contributions expected this year from 6.338 million to 5.907 million.
That the 3 Chair, that is part of the drop in grants, correct?
Okay. So unless we ask this question, we don't find these things out, do we? Well, we don't know, you know, we don't know what spent on toilet blocks and halls and all these other things unless you ask. I'll just find one final question regarding the which I deem our greatest asset is our roads. You know, like we get grants for the roads, and we've put in this year, you know, 1.028 billion. Local government grants, 892,000, SLRP, 1 million. So we spend about 2.92 million in grants on roads. Our total expenditure on grants is 4.951 million. And just as a matter of interest, you know, like 69% of the rates are paid by rural ratepayers, which equates to $10 million. And out of that $10 million, they're not getting much spent on roads. And I just said, you know, like the graders, for example, if we put them at, you know, $250,000 a shift, 6 shifts, 1.5 million. We double it to, you know, $500,000 a shift. It's still only $3 million. So a lot of the rates that are being paid are not going into road construction. That's all I'd like to say.
Oh, that's an interesting question, because it sounds to me as if the question is about the equity of rate revenue and where it comes from and how it's spent. And you know that you have a rating review that occurs now during the life of this chamber with the April election. So towards the end of the year, a rating review will commence, and you'll have the opportunity to have a look at the equity between primary production ratepayers and residential ratepayers, commercial ratepayers. And if you want to put forward suggestions for adjustments, you can. Otherwise, if it's just about how much money is spent and that we're not spending enough money, then it gets back to the question about rate increases. And hence your 11.3% produces a balanced budget. So a very interesting question.
Councillor O'Hara, and then I'll go that way.
Yeah, and what councillor Arthur says is true. But it's not our fault as a council that farming prices, well, the price of land has gone from $500 an acre to $3,000 an acre in our area. That is not our fault, that is a fact.
Councillor Bland and Councillor Moore.
I'd agree with councillor O'Hara, but I'd also like to make the comment that we all, as a community of Coorong, utilise the facilities of our smaller community townships. And they need to be kept for everybody, whether they be residential, people who live in the townships, or those who live out of the townships. So I'd like to make the point that I know it seems inequitable, but in reality, we all use those facilities.
Councillor Cormann.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and I agree with what councillor Harper and other councillors have just spoken about. But I've got two things. The first one is we've got additional toilets. Well, we've got one at Salt Creek, we're already at one, we've got one replaced at Canalpin, so I wouldn't see that would be too much of a financial implication, hopefully. Or maybe a little bit more, we still have to dispose of the old ones. The other question I have, and our Director of Roads Infrastructure spoke a little bit on it, and it's my concern, and it'll have a great effect, I believe, on our budget going ahead in a long-term financial plan. And that is when finally the roads valuation comes in, and then we actually know how our assets are going. And that is so crucial, the valuation come depreciation, and it might be okay, but if it isn't, we've got to do a lot of adjustments. It's my concern.
I'll take them as comments. Are there any other? I think so. Are there any other questions for administration on this item? Councillors, there is a recommendation that we adopt this budget. Is a councillor wishing to turn that into a motion? Councillor O'Hara and Bland. Councillor O'Hara, you have the call.
Yeah, no, it's turn it up, I think. Happy to close it.
Any Councillor Bland, do you wish to?
No, enough said.
Thank you. Any other councillors wish to enter debate? Councillor O'Hara is closed. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Moving on to agenda item number 4. Termination and adoption of the 2026 valuations. Interesting to note that there's almost $5 billion worth of land in our improved infrastructure in our district.
That.
Councillors, any questions? Do I have a mover?
Happy to move it.
Thank you. Councillor Maidment has moved. The second of the motion, Councillor Coleman. Councillor Maidment, you have the call.
I'm happy to close it. I don't have any questions on this. It's fairly straightforward as far as I read it.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. You?
No, so just like you mentioned, Mr Mayor, things are getting quite valuable.
Any other councillors? If not, I'll close, put the motion.
We don't get to set it, so.
Yeah.
This one's pretty straightforward. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 5. Delph, would you mind coming to a microphone, please? Thank you. Before we get into this, Delph, have you got any commentary you'd like to make on the arriving at these figures for the categories at all? Differential rates?
Not specifically, no.
Councillors, any questions on this agenda item 5? There's a recommendation, which is quite detailed. Is there a mover? Councillor Bland moving. Seconder. Thank you, Councillor Mayment. Councillor Bland, you have the call.
No, I think it's all explanatory there.
Thank you, Councillor Mayment.
No, it's all straightforward again. Thank
Any
you.
other councillors wishing to enter debate? Councillor Corman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a comment, and it's good to see on page 10 of the hard copy, comparison of the rates over the years from back to 22, 23, and they've changed. So thanks for that information. I'm pretty sure that's valuable.
Thank you. There is quite a significant drop in the rate of the dollar over the 5-year period.
Yep.
Councillor Bland, you'll close.
Closed.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Moving on to agenda item 6, the declaration of a separate rate in regards to East. The interim CEO has the call.
So this really sets up the process of recovering SA Water costs from those properties that have not paid up front and paying off over the next 3 years through a special rate.
Councillors, any questions on agenda item 6? Councillor Arthur, you?
No, I'm prepared to remove that recommendation, but the increase be 10%. Make it, instead of 15, and make us in tune with other councils around the area.
We're on the declaration of the separate rate for Wellington East.
Sorry?
We're on the declaration of the separate rate for Wellington East.
Yeah.
Item 6,
Item 6.
not rate
On the wrong
capping.
Oh, I'm on the wrong one.
Yeah,
I've
you
got
are.
ahead of myself.
Yeah, it's,
Sorry.
just hold that point.
Oh,
Hold that thought. Is there a mover for item 6?
Oh, I thought that was gone.
Thank you, Councillor O'Hara and Bland. Councillor O'Hara, you have the call.
Yeah, no, that's pretty straightforward, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Bland.
A lot of them, isn't there?
Any other councillors? Thank you, Councillor
A
Quabbin.
lot.
Yeah, I'd like to speak again.
Yeah, there is.
Mr. Mayor, that through you to rates officer, have we received a lot of or concerns or complaints of people struggling to meet this extra rate at all from Wellington East?
I have received none.
Thank you.
I would assume everybody's maybe happy.
We've
Hope
landed.
so. Okay.
It's
Thank
been a
you.
turbulent flight, but we've landed. Councillor O'Hara, you'll close.
Yeah, I'm happy to close. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Moving on to agenda item 7, the authorisation of rates, rebates, mandatory and discretionary under section 166 of the Local Government Act, number 1J. So there is a separate list. Now I will just make the note that this list is reduced from previous years.
Yep.
In the mandatory rate, and that is not due to that is due to recategorisation. That so there was some non-rateable properties being rated and then 100% rebated. So there is no financial change to council, but there is a recategorisation of some land into non-rateable. So there is a difference in the length of the list last year. Councillors, I do wish to have a conversation, so I might suspend meeting procedures at this point for 10:51. Delith, could you please give us a background on the change in category from mandatory to discretionary as it affects the Taylor Bank Community Centre, please?
Okay, probably need the email I sent you. So as part of the review of the discretionary and mandatory rebates this year, it was identified that the Taylor Bank Community Centre, which has previously received 100% discretionary rebate, is actually satisfies all the requirements of section 161 of the Act, which is a community service.
Yes.
There are 3 points that it needs to satisfy, and it satisfies all 3 of those, which means it needs to be placed in our mandatory rebates list instead of our discretionary. The effect of that is that the Tailem Bend Community Centre will, as it stands under the Act, receive a 75% rebate of their general rates. And they will also receive a 75% rebate of their landscape levies. The effect of that is that they will receive less of a rebate than they did last year, because 100% discretionary rebate of the general rates is more value in dollar terms than the mandatory rebate. So council does have discretion under another section of the Act to provide an additional rebate to the Tailem Bend Community Centre if it wishes. It can rebate up to 100%, so anywhere between 75 and 100. And that, of course, would also apply to the levies. So the discussion is about council's appetite to potentially increase that rebate to the Tailem Bend Community Centre to keep it more in line with previous years.
Thank you. So just for point of clarity, page 3 of 3 of this report would be where we would have seen this previously, 100%. They're now in the mandatory 75. Councillor Bland.
I guess my question is around equity, and that is around other community centres such as at Canalpin, potentially mentioned at Tintinara, provide a similar sort of, well, not the same, nothing's 100%, but it does provide that sort of service. I'm not clear on what they currently pay or receive.
On application, they would probably be at our 100% rebate list.
Okay.
But it would be on application.
And there is one, if you look in the discretionary rebate list, there's one for the community hub there.
Oh, it is there. Okay, sorry, I missed that. Okay.
Yep.
I was just making sure that there is equity across the communities for similar services now and into the future, and then what the process is for all communities.
The only difference, Councillor Bland, would be that if we did put Tailem Bend Community Centre back to 100% to fall in line with the others, they would have the slightly added benefit of having a 75% rebate on their landscape levies that our discretionaries don't get. That's the only difference, and it is a fairly minor. So Tailem Bend Community Centre total landscape levy rebate currently is just on $100. So it is a fairly minor difference.
Okay.
And that's so the dollar figures for that are on page 1 of 3 under the 75%.
May I, through the chair, you do not have to rebate to 100%. You could choose to do 90. Example.
So by moving category, and this is, please just note, very ballpark figures, compared to last year, the Tailem Bend Community Centre is currently around $600, $500 worse off. Everybody across the...
Through you, Mr Mayor, can I just ask why the Lake Albert Early Learning Centre gets a full discretionary rebate when they're a business?
We have previously given them a rebate. It's historical. They don't fit the requirement of being an education provider because they're a provider of education for preschool age. So if they were providing education services to older children, they would be a mandatory rebate. The Tailem Bend kindergarten is the same.
Any further questions?
You can choose not to give them a rebate.
Just a couple. We've obviously now caught up with the landscape levy, but everybody is going to have to pay that. They haven't been for some time. Okay. It'd be interesting to find out what that actually cost the council, because looking at the figures here, if all of them, we were paying those landscape levies and not collecting them over the years, it ended up to a fair few dollars. The other thing is, are they going to have to apply for this every year? Like this year where you sent out application forms for the, to go to 100%, even though you've been getting 100% for years?
Through the chair, the policy is actually silent on it. It says that where there's a mandatory rebate, we will provide it. We don't necessarily have to have an application if we consider that they meet the requirements. Where there's a discretionary rebate, the policy is actually silent on how often we require an application form. However, the Act states that you can provide a rebate for a period of a maximum of 3 years. So by implication, it would be best practice to require an application every 3 years. I think it's probably my best answer at this point.
Thank you.
The second point is,
Councillor Arthur?
when we have the application forms for the 100% rebate, do we have on there a scope which is subject to sporting bodies? Because really, there's nothing on there with the sporting bodies. It was, what we put it down as community, didn't we?
It's community.
Something like that. So, like it is a specific thing. And I
I
just
believe,
Through
correct me
the
if I'm
chair,
wrong here, that
that
we're copied
request-
from the Act.
Correct.
Yeah. So they do fall under that category, but the Act actually doesn't say sporting body. It says community. I think we could probably add an addendum that they might fall under that category, but the language came straight from the Act.
providing community sport. That's the reason for it.
Councillor Bland?
I just want to clarify, I noticed that the Tailem kindergarten is in here. In Meningie,
In the
there's
last one.
Meningie preschool and Meningie kindergarten. I don't see both on this list. I see one. Preschool's on the list. I'm just trying to clarify which one it is. Councillor O'Hara mentioned it, and I'm probably in favour, the same, is that it's privately owned one versus the kindergarten, which is a public.
Do recall looking at that. I would have to take that on notice and go back and see my
I'm
notes.
just
Yeah.
not sure, and I couldn't quickly find it just then when councillor O'Hara brought it up.
And sorry, if I could just ask too, Delph, the schools are not listed in this at all.
Correct.
So they're in a non-rateable.
Yep.
They've been recategorised as non-rateable.
Because a school is owned by the minister and land owned by the minister is not rateable.
That could be where that Meningie one's
I
fallen.
think so.
The other Meningie one, if it's
It could be.
owned by the minister, it could be. So Councillor Bland?
So the Tailem Bend one is right, but I'm just wondering if the naming is right then in 100% rebate. I'm just, yeah, it still, I think, needs a bit of clarity around it. Progress associations, I noticed that Narung has 2. Is that for separate properties that they own? And how does
Yes.
that work generally?
A good question.
I'm not,
Um,
I mean, I don't want to.
It's the same, through your chair, it's the same for Tora. It's the same for the Tailem Bend Rugby. There are a number of assessments because you end up with like an oval is on one, a football field's on another, and a changing rooms might be on a third one. So you end up with more than one assessment. So
Sorry, Delph. Councillor, our time's elapsed. I'll extend for another 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Sorry, Delph. Continue.
So the
that again,
Narung
sorry.
Progress Association have got a field and changing rooms, and I think they also have a mobile phone tower. And I'm not sure that the third one made it into the list.
Sorry,
Mobile tower, I understand they receive some financial backing for, which I think wrong is probably
Good money.
the Oval. I'm not sure what they get.
It's not on the list because there's only 2 there.
One other piece of land was adjusted.
Is that the Oval?
The tower's at the Oval,
Yeah.
but the second piece of land that I know of was adjusted to someone else.
Would be the hall, wouldn't it?
Yes. Anyway, it was just for some clarity of thought there.
Filled out an application, so
Anyway,
Councillor, I thought I was just extending the suspension of meeting procedures for 5 minutes when I interrupted before.
Yeah, it's a strange setup, for example. They're smiling about the Fora, you've got one lease over one portfolio, volume portfolio with the 3 assessments. So that might have been back years and years and years ago, and might have been one for the tennis courts and one for the football and one for something else, but it's now, because they used to be different leases back then, but it's now all one lease. So,
Yeah, but the assessment relates to title, doesn't it?
yeah.
Not necessarily, no.
Title or use.
In this case, it's more historic because, as councillor Arthur mentioned, the land was leased to separate entities. So therefore, separate assessments were created.
Okay, so councillors, okay,
Sorry,
no,
just one
sorry.
quick question through you, Mayor. What's Softtech Holdings Proprietary Limited? That's a
Softtech Holdings are the Vinnies.
Vinnie's
Yeah.
here. Okay. Thank you.
The what, sorry?
Vinnie's
Oh,
here.
oh.
St
Yeah,
Vincent de Paul.
I thought it'd be something different to that.
Councillor Corman, you have your hand?
Yes, I have got my hand up, yeah. Carlton Community Centre, I'm just trying to get my head around this one.
Yeah, let's get back to that.
2 listings, and I assume the A119 is the actual one they have a peppercorn lease off of us, the council building, and the A6992 is the actual station master's house. Is that right?
Or the other way around.
Or the other way around?
It's the other way around. I think the 119 is the newer
Oh,
assessment.
okay, that's the station master's house.
Mm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, councillors, any further questions or conversation around this? So 2 things to consider is the Taylor Bank Community Centre rebate, whether that is made to fall in line with the other rebates, and whether there is anything, any other changes to the discretionary rebates. I'll resume meeting procedures at 11:05.
I have to say through to you, Mr. Mayor, I would have liked a bit further discussion earlier on these rebates, given that they've brought up a lot of thoughts and questions here. We can do about that right now. So we need to move forward, but we could have a further briefing or for the next council. These are done with a lot more information into it a lot, but it certainly brought up a few questions, I think.
So through the chair, the rating review is, as Stella said, maybe the policy could be improved. So I think the rating review is a good opportunity to examine that.
Councillor Coleman and Councillor Hara.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to raise myself. I had a little bit of difficulty as councillor Bland, especially, but thanks to Dallas, with the community centre and a few others. So I think look forward to the rating review when it comes around. Thank you.
Councillor Hara.
Yeah, just a question now that Jalara Homes has been sold, do they still stay on this?
Sold on the 30th.
No, I would imagine they would because they're a
Yeah.
non-for-profit business that
At this
bought
stage.
them, but
Chair, at this stage, I would understand the status has not changed.
Okay. Councillors, we have a recommendation. Is somebody moving that, or is somebody moving a variation to that? Councillor Coleman? Are you moving a variation to that, or regarding Tailman Community Centre, or are you moving it as it is?
I'm happy.
Seconded, and subject to we do further information with the rating.
Thank you.
I'm happy with it.
So the recommendation becomes the motion with the addition of, for the topic to be revisited as part of the rating review. Councillor Corman, you have the call.
I think we've had enough discussion.
Councillor Bland,
I don't, done, thanks.
any other councillors wish to enter debate? Councillor Corman, you're close.
I'll close, thank you.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 8, which is authorisation of a special rate rebate under section 166 1MI of the Local Government Act. Councillors, any questions of administration? Councillor Arthur?
I'm in favour of 10%, as you know, because I think that's most of the other councils around our area are 10%. And I don't think we're going to have any dramatic increases like we have over the last few years. Things have seemed to have quietened down a bit. And the other thing is, I ask, why can't we put it on the notice when we send it out instead of having? I think it's not a good sign for you having to apply for it, because a lot of people, you know, don't look in that depth into their rates notice. They look at the bottom line, and the bottom line is, of course, isn't the total, because you've got your whatever your charges and all that thing. So it's your rates, only that rates, and other councils do it very successfully. You know, like the one down at Roby gets $1.80 deduction quarterly on his quarterly account, which is to keep it at the 10%. So question is, can it be done automatically without having to apply for it? And my preference would be for 10%.
So are you moving a motion, or are you?
Well, I'll move that motion if you like. Yeah.
So you're.
But I'm just the question is.
Deal with the question first.
Is it feasible to be able to, without having to apply for it?
So,
Interim CEO has a call.
through the chair, obviously we've gone out to community consultation with a draft ABP that listed that it was at 15% on application. That's what we presented. The conversations we had in this chamber about that was that it may be more appropriate to examine this again in the rating review, where you're able then potentially to talk about the potential of automated, and also the opportunity to have a look at the level of capping as well. But I would suggest, considering that we went out to community consultation with that information, and I don't think I recall any commentary being received from the community about the 15% and about it being on application.
To be quite honest though, we don't get much feedback from community consultation about anything, do we? So that 15%, if I'm quite happy to leave it at 15%, if that's what the chamber wants, but make it straight away instead of having to be applied for, which is possible to do.
Okay. Are you, have I got a motion at the moment, Councillor Arthur, or we're still in discussion?
Well, you know, it's the chamber that makes the decision, not the staff make the recommendations. Their recommendation at this stage is 15%. I'm filling out the chamber, whether I believe 10% is quite ample, but Tadeo is 10%, Southern Valley's 10%. Most of the others are 10%.
Rightio.
So it's up to the chamber to make that decision. So
Councillor Moment had a hand. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't in the middle of a motion, full motion request. So Councillor Moment, you have the call.
Thank you. Yes, and through you, just a question. Is it a legislated requirement to do on application, or you can do it automatically?
Doesn't matter.
It can be either?
Could be either.
Right. I think we've had discussions about this previously in workshops, and this is what the chamber decided that day. So I'm happy to move it as is.
15.
Just for,
Okay,
and not to say it can't be reviewed later.
I'll just be clear, the chamber cannot make a decision in a workshop, so we can have a conversation
No.
that we can't make a decision. I'm going to suspend meeting procedures for 5 minutes because I'm very dangerously close to having two motions partially cooked here.
can I just ask a question? And I know that
Councillor Bland?
the staff are working with the comments from councillor Arthur, councillor Maidment. We've got a potential motion up there from councillor Arthur. And I think we've got a potential one as is. Is that correct? Because I wasn't sure whether you were.
That is exactly what I was trying to ascertain.
I'm still
I
unclear.
think we've just,
But we've suspended standing orders at 11:13. So we're going to have a conversation around the chamber.
chime in.
I'll go to the interim CEO and then we'll go around the chamber.
Can I say at this late date, yes, we workshopped with council and council gave us direction. It's really important that council gave us direction because that's the numbers we put our budget together based on. The numbers in our budget are based on 15% on application. So it would have a material effect if you did automated.
Councillor O'Hara?
Yeah, I agree with councillor Maidment. I'd be happy to second that, but it stays the way it is.
Councillor Bland?
Yes, that clarifies the confusion. We now have a mover and a seconder potentially in as it is. Whereas I wasn't really convinced that councillor Arthur actually moved the first one he talked.
Councillor Qualman?
Yeah, I'm just happy to go along with councillor Maidment's motion.
Okay, I do not have a motion yet. We
Oh.
are suspended. I'm just being very clear on that. Councillor Arthur?
We're still
Councillor
following
Arthur?
protocols.
Do you want to?
Well, yeah, the only thing is I would like to add to the motion that it be automatically put onto the notice instead of having to be applied for.
And that's at a 15%.
Yeah.
Done.
My question originally, have we got the system to be able to do that? If the answer is no, well, we can't do it. If the answer is maybe or yes, it's just like a direction. That's what I've been asking for at the start.
Through the chair.
Interim CEO?
Yes, we have a system that can accommodate that. However, as I just said before, the reason we asked for direction from the chamber was because we had to finalise our budget. The numbers, the dollars are based on 15% on application.
Okay, we are still suspended. Any further commentary?
Yeah.
Councillor Bland and Arthur?
If we don't go further, I'm happy for it to go to the rate review for both the ability to do it automatically and to look at 10% so that it all fits into one package and we make those changes all up. And I'm not sure whether councillor Maidment, councillor O'Hara, I assume that's what the intent would have been, but I don't want to be clear.
I'll just Councillor Arthur, did you have anything further?
No.
Councillor Coleman?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Didn't we, in our workshop from the rates department or the administration, they expressed their concerns at that time that it might be difficult to have it go automatically straight away? That's right.
It would have a material impact on the budget as proposed.
That's why good maybe for the rate review to handle it when it comes to time.
Right, is there any further commentary? There isn't.
May I
Calvin?
just add one thing? The first rates notice that goes out includes an annual business plan summary. And on the summary, there is a paragraph that explains that capping of 15% is available on application.
We'll resume meeting procedures at 11:17. Councillors, there is a recommendation. We've had a discussion. Is somebody moving a motion? Councillor Maidment.
I'm moving the recommendation as stated.
Councillor O'Hara seconding. Councillor Mayment, you have the call.
Yeah, given the conversation we've had, and we've already been out to public consultation, I would leave it as is. And if it's all going to review anyway, it may change, but at the moment, we would leave it as is, which is why I'm going with this one.
Councillor O'Hara, you have the call.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with it.
Any other councillors wish to enter debate? Councillor Moment, you're closed.
I'll close.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Moving on to agenda item 9, declaration of the SWIMS service charges. Noting the 2 fees. Any questions? Administration? Anybody prepared to convert the recommendation to a motion? Councillor Qualman is moving. Is there a seconder? Councillor Mayment. Councillor Qualman, you have the call.
Pretty straightforward. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Mayment.
No.
Any other
nothing to
councillors
add.
wish to enter debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Moving on to agenda item number 10, declaration of the water supply system service charges, noting that this is only relating to peak.
Peak.
Any questions to administration councillors?
No.
Is there a mover? Thank you, Councillor Bland. Seconder? Thank you, Councillor Moment. Councillor Bland, you have the call.
No, I think it's explanatory.
Thank you, Councillor Moment.
No, thanks. It's all good.
Thank you. Any other councillors wish to enter debate? Being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Declaration of the curbside waste management charge. Noting the change in this to last year, 323, it was a downward change. Any questions, councillors?
Yes, I just got one question.
Councillor Arthur,
What's it provide?
what does it provide?
What's it provide? Just tells you it's a $323 charge to be provided for eligible assessment of rateable and non-rateable with curbside collection boundary to which the council provides or makes available the curbside waste management service. One would have thought there should be something in there that you are allowed one red bin, one green bin and one yellow bin
That's in the policy, Councillor Arthur.
within the policy.
It's in the policy,
Okay.
which is being reviewed at the July meeting. As I understand, because I wasn't here, but it was deferred. The update to that policy was deferred at the last ordinary council meeting.
Yeah, I know that after.
Could I
Councillor Bland?
suggest then, that is a concern that we just put as per policy as a statement on it, so people can know where to find the information.
Councillor Coleman?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I see on my little diary here, 3:30, we've got curbside waste
Absolutely.
policy review on.
So Councillor Arthur, would you appreciate this modified to include as per the policy as amended from time to time?
Well, I think there should be some mention.
You'll move that way?
Yeah, I'll move that way if it. We do, see our policy also. Well, I don't think our policy does, but a motion from the chamber.
I wouldn't.
Who was objecting?
Sorry, Della?
I just say, I wouldn't add the wording. This is about the imposition of the fee. It's not about the type of service. So it's the imposition of it's probably not a right word, the application of the curbside waste charge that is
Versus
effectively a mandatory charge.
Get it?
Not a discussion about the type of service.
I don't think it'd be an issue to note the service though.
I would have thought
Talk about.
after curbside management service, you could say in accordance with council policy. I don't think it's.
Yep.
Maybe service in accordance with, as against finance, service in accordance with.
makes available the curbside waste management service in accordance with council policy.
Which is what eligible
I suppose I've
assessments.
seen there that other document references to the
That's-
policy.
That is what eligible assessments are though,
Right direction.
under the policy.
And that covers all sorts of policy, including the rating policy.
Because there's also the sporting policy, the community group policy that will be affected. Councillor Arthur, are you comfortable with those words?
Yeah, no, whatever, say, yeah, got it.
Do I have a seconder for the motion? Thank you, Councillor O'Hara. Councillor Arthur, you have the call. Councillor O'Hara,
No, closed.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to item 12, declaration of the regional landscape levy. Any questions, councillors?
A choice.
Thank you, councillor Bland is moving. Seconder? Councillor Maitland? Councillor Bland, do you have the call?
Done.
Thank you, councillor Maitland.
No, it's all straightforward.
Any other councillors in debate? Councillor Holman?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's a silly question. I don't know if I've asked before, but do we get paid for doing the service on behalf of the state government? Of course not. Federal government?
To the
Silly
chair,
question.
yes. To the chair, yes, but not enough in my opinion.
Oh, we do? Oh,
Small amount.
All admin amount.
thank you. What now?
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 13, payment of rates for the 26-27 financial year. Councillors O'Hara and Arthur. Councillor O'Hara, you have the call.
Yeah, no, enough said, it's pretty straightforward.
Councillor Arthur? Thank you. Any other councillors to enter the debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Agenda item 14. Rate cap on the principal place of residence. The councillors, this is a change to how this has been recorded in the past. We have discussed this. Are there any questions on this item as well as item that we already dealt with, which was the discretionary earlier? But this is on the principal place of residence. We've already had the discretionary conversation around 15%. No questions. Councillors, is there a mover for the recommendation? Do you need an explanation, or is there anything further we can provide on this agenda item?
Be quite happy to hear further explanation.
Please.
Thank you. Dallas, would you?
Okay, so Local Government Act, the rate capping per se is carried out under section 153 of the Act. And historically, council has loosely used section 153 to rate cap every category. So to be in line with the requirements of the Act, this year we have split the ability to place a rate cap between the discretionary rebates under section 166 and the rebate under section 153. So 153 is limited only to the principal place of residence and doesn't include vacant land or primary production land. So those other types will be included under the section 166 discretionary rebates that we have already discussed. The net effect to council is the same because every property type is eligible for an effective cap either under section 153 or section 166. When we have our application form finalised, we will just be asking people which part of the act they fall under. It's not going to make any material difference to the application.
Thank you. And I'm just getting to the section of the act in relevance. So section 153.3 says that council must, when determining a general rate, determine whether it will fix the maximum increase in the general rate. And if we choose not to, the mayor has to provide a reason as to why we haven't. So this is mandatory. We have to consider it under 153. Any further questions?
Move it.
Thank you. Councillor O'Hara is moving. Is there a seconder? Councillor Bland. Councillor O'Hara, you have the call.
Yeah, no, it's self-explanatory, I think, so.
Thank you.
Need to say any more, close.
Thank you. Councillor Bland.
Fine, thanks.
Put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Rating policy review, agenda item 15. On page 31 of this document, you'll see the clauses changed to reflect some of what we've talked about this morning. Are there any questions for administration in relation to this? Is a recommendation, councillors? Councillor Bland,
I'll move.
question or moving?
Moving.
You, Councillor Bland has moved the recommendation to a motion. Seconder. Thank you, Councillor Maidment. Councillor Bland, you have the call.
Closed.
Thank you, Councillor Maidment.
Yeah, no, that's all good.
Any other councillors wish to enter debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Agenda item 16. Debt recovery and financial hardship policy review. Noting that there's been one change to it on page 33, which is the clause around rebates. Any questions, concerns, councillors? Let's remove it for the recommendation to the motion. Thank you, Councillor Arthur. I have a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Maidment. Councillor Arthur, you have the call.
I don't think anything.
Thank you,
Further
Councillor
conversation?
Maidment. Any other councillors wish to enter debate? Put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Councillors, that brings us to our last agenda item for today. We're going to have a conversation regarding some of this after the meeting. Schedule of fees and charges. I'll just make some commentary before we get into it. I had quite a lengthy conversation with the Director of Roads and Infrastructure regarding how the methodology behind the charges at the waste transfer station. And you'll see some significant changes there that reflect actual cost to council. To the Director, if you'd like to make some commentary.
Yeah, thank you. And through the chair. So we were just trying to realign this to create a more equitable, I guess, charging framework. And what we're experiencing is, for example, a 240 litre mobile bin at $5. You know, the circumstance was that people were arriving with 4 of them in a trailer. Now it's effectively a full trailer, but they're only having to pay $20 in fees associated with dumping that rubbish. So if you have a look at a trailer, you know, we're charging $55 for a trailer. And so there's just a few scenarios like that where the volume being disposed of could be charged in 2 different ways depending on how it was arriving. And what we wanted to do is just realign that so that it was scalable. And then secondly, we wanted to be able to generate the charge off a metric. And so what we did was we right back to our cost to dispose with the contractor, Solo, added some loading for, I guess, staff on site and site management, and then obviously applied it to a volumetric number applied to each one of those categories. And so what we've ended up with now is a more equitable breakdown. So for example, proposed now, if you bought in 4 240 litre bins at $10 each, you're paying the same as a 6x4 trailer. So there's no disparity in that regard. Same, you know, for car boot, you know, it's probably half a trailer load, so it's $20 instead of 40 for the trailer load. So, yeah, that was, I guess, essentially we wanted something that was a little more equitable and something that we can now, as our costs go up, we can reasonably just apply an increase if needed.
There is some rounding in this, but it's all based on the disposal charge for a square metre of volume. Any questions on this agenda item, councillors? It's the only significant change since the draft. Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the chair to the Director of Roads and Infrastructure. It's been out some regularly to the transfer station here at Tailem Bend. I do see we have like a small hopper or a skip bin there. Are we trialling taking bulky cardboard for recycling, and if so, are we charging, or it's another free as in per recyclables with yellow lead bin?
Through the chair, is that just purely for cardboard?
Cardboard, yeah.
Yeah. I might take it on notice. I feel a bit embarrassed. I should know the answer to that question right here, right now. I think we've got an arrangement with Bridge, a recycling company, Maybridge, to collect bulk cardboard. Minor fee associated with it, but better than, you know, anything else potentially. So, but I'll take that on notice and I'll come back to you.
Through the chair, just on from that, years ago they used to have a big steel mess cage, and they had some sort of arrangement, and you know, when people buy a new fridge or something and they got too much cardboard to get rid of through the yellow lead bin, they would take it out there. So no, I just thought I'd ask that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the Murray Bridge recyclers do take cardboard down at Meningie.
Oh, right.
The same service. Councillor Bland, did you?
No, I was thinking along the whole cardboard issue, but it's all been answered. Thanks.
Any other questions, councillors? There is a recommendation to adopt the fees and charges. To remover. Councillor Coleman and O'Hara. Councillor Coleman, you have the call.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Hara.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say is that we just need to be careful that we don't encourage people to go out and scrub and dump stuff, you know? Yeah.
Any other councillors wishing to debate? There being none, Councillor Coleman, you'll close.
I'll close, thank you.
The motion, all those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Interim CEO call.
I think you're just about to close the meeting, but before you do that, Acting Mayor, can I thank the elected members, the community, and in particular my staff, including Bill, Joel, Dallas. A budget takes a good solid 6 months to put together, and there's periods of really intense work. As you know, there's a number of workshops and the public meetings. We've got pretty good at it. Now having the team together and being, you know, gone through about 3 or so budgets together, I think we're pretty good at it. But I really do thank you as well, because importantly, that long-term financial plan that drives the draft budget and your lead in terms of the direction, your discipline has helped us in terms of ensuring that we can put together a budget that meets your expectations and the community expectations. So I just wish to express my gratitude.
You, Councillor Bland.
I thank Summers, and our staff, but I also have a question, and that is in relation to the next election,
Mhm.
given that that's going to be April. What has staff had any opportunity to think about what that process might look like? Given
Mhm.
we're still, some of us are still going to be sitting here in
Yes.
April with a new council coming in at that time. It's a very hard ask to
Yes.
be able to bring that up. So do we
Okay.
have a format?
So I have had time to think about that, even though, you know, it's only been a week since we've known exactly what is occurring.
And we are still waiting for the regulations.
And we're waiting for the regulations. However, considering that it is April election and I would expect at the end of April, we'll have a new chamber that we will be introducing. I do hope that a number of you do return. That would really be helpful in terms of continuing the direction, but if you don't, we'll need to accommodate that. But my expectation is that we commence as per normal in our budget cycle. It starts internally in January with our internal meetings towards mid to late January. Again, you know, draft budget is the first stage is what is effectively the second year of the LTFP. And then we start looking at, well, what are the things that might have happened since the last review of the LTFP? But, you know, in concert with that in January, we have a look at the LTFP and ask ourselves, well, you know, what are the changes that are fairly obvious there? So my expectation is that we continue that cycle. We lock in dates for budget workshops and the like. So let's say we've had a couple of workshops with the current chamber. They've virtually got a draft budget together. You've put in your budget bits as well. And we get to, remember, we always want to get May is when we get out to community with a draft budget. So what I expect to happen is that we'll probably have 2 workshops with a new chamber, and they may be one late April, one the first week of May, let's say, with the goal potentially of even having a special meeting to be able to, again, get out in May with a draft budget, because I think our goal should still be a similar date, July, for an approval. But yeah, we'll have to, I think our district probably is going to be served well because we'll be following our LTFP. It's quite well understood in our community. I think probably there might be some other councils, I imagine, where you might have a significant change in terms of your chamber, and they potentially can approve a budget right up until August, so they might take a little bit longer. But in my mind at the moment, I'm thinking the change might be a week or 2 weeks. The key will all be about those first 2 workshops with the new chamber and how they accept what's being presented to them.
I'll go to Councillor Hara, but just before I do, can I just clarify for anybody that's watching online?
Yeah.
The Act is very clear that despite any limitations in our caretaker policy, there is no limitation on a council acting in relation to its budget in that period of time. Councillor Hara.
That's what I was going to ask. It would be wise not to have a caretaker period by moving the elections to April, surely.
So we still have a caretaker period, which will restrict us on other major decisions,
Not on the
but
budget. though.
not progressing the budget. It's a specific exclusion in the Act, not just the regulations. Any other questions? That being